Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I basically want to talk about the overall fitness training for all ages. My approach is, especially the topic of this recording will be general fitness programs, general fitness concept covering all ages and lifetime fitness. Particularly when I say fitness, as you all know, fitness is a very kind of wide spectrum. It has a lot. It can contain a lot of different workout regimens and training styles and all. So I want to basically narrow it down to when I say fitness, what exactly I'm referring to. And this is particularly strength training exercises for two different purposes. One is again strength training. The other one is hypertrophy, which is increasing the muscle size. These two, I want to again, emphasize one fact. This recording, and what I will be talking about is definitely not limited and only related to young people who are on kind of a serious path in either weightlifting or powerlifting or bodybuilding as a kind of a competitor almost, and at a serious level, Like I said, the purpose and intent of this recording is to discuss the benefits, overall benefits of weight training, resistance training, strength training, exercises for all ages, and improve the overall health of a person throughout his or her lifestyle. It is not for men only, it is for both for men and women of all ages, even very advanced ages, that these concepts can be applied to improve the overall health and therefore the quality of life. So let's begin with what we're going to talk about. So when we say hypertrophy or muscle gains and strength training, those two things are actually intertwined very closely. They are really going hand in hand. But of course, there are unique factors and unique differences that both has. So this is what I want to mention. This is what I want to talk about today. Hypertrophy and strength training are both great types of resistance training. Focusing on one area doesn't mean you won't see gains in the other, but varying your workouts can optimize your results. So now, after kind of indicating that, I just want to kind of have this paragraph, to begin with. And I want to basically talk about here, define and identify what constitutes resistance training versus, actually, it's more like this. I will break down resistance training into two areas. One is muscle hypertrophy and the other one is strength training, because resistance exercise means your muscles are resisting against a weight, an external factor, a weight. That can be weight like you see it behind, and the image that I'm talking in front of. The guy is pushing weights with his legs, and it's called a hip slot machine. It's found in a lot of gyms. One of my favorite exercises. You can push weights, you can pull weights, you can use resistance bands, or you can use again weights on cable stack machines. You can use free weights such as barbells and dumbbells. You can use resistance bands to apply the resistance for your muscles. You can use kettlebells. You can use your own body weight, which is called calisthenics, such as pull-ups and push-ups and crunches, body weight squats, those exercise dips. Those are typical calisthenics exercises using only body weight, your own body weight. So after kind of having this kind of initial definition of the resistance training, let's talk about the benefits. What kind of benefits one can have from resistance training? One of them is muscular endurance. Muscular endurance is an ability to produce and maintain force for a long period of time. So you can extend your endurance, your muscular endurance. 2, improving your power. What is the definition of power? Definition of power, in fact, in physics, there is a formula called F equal ma. F is standing for force, m is standing for mass, and a is standing for acceleration. So this famous formula in physics, F equal, that means force equal mass times acceleration, means the amount of weight one can move, push or pull, move, in a given time, in a given distance. So that's how the power is measured. So power is ability to produce the most amount of force in the shortest period of time. It's also known as explosive power. So power is different than endurance. And also obviously stability. That helps the weight training, improve muscular strength, helps with the range of motion and stability around the joints. So what are the components and variables within a training regimen? Training regimen, again, using the equipment I just mentioned before, the weights, resistance bands, calisthenics, free weights or machine weights, all those. So let's call it all the resistance training equipment. All these items that I mentioned, put them all under the name resistance training equipment. And what are the variables? When you decide to start with a program, regardless of your age, you can be 20 years old, you can be 50 years old, you can be 60, 65, even 70 years old. You can be both man and woman, and in fact, you can even be a person who had maybe a recent surgery or kind of like recovering from some kind of a medical condition. And it is important to, kind of like a physical therapy, it is important to apply resistance training principles to be able to facilitate a faster and better recovery. One caveat with that, those who are coming with some kind of a medical condition into this realm, the fitness area. There are people in gyms, maybe not all the gyms, but you got to look for it if this is the plan. There are trainers who are certified to work with people with medical conditions, because regular training principles, regular training regimens don't apply. In fact, it would be dangerous for those people who needs to have specialized programs geared toward their conditions, medical conditions, whatever they may be. Maybe they had some kind of hip surgery or knee surgery. Maybe they had some other kind of surgery which they need doctor prescribed physical therapy. In fact, what they do is they see physical therapists, and in the longer term, after the physical therapy sessions are over, let's say it lasted 6 months, but beyond that 6 months time frame, they might be working out with the assistance of a trainer who are specialized and certified in the area, with certain specialized training regimens to improve their conditions. So, what are they again? The training variables. Those are repetitions, sets, training intensity, training volume, repetition tempo, rest interval, exercise selection, exercise order, training duration, and training frequency. So, all those factors that I just counted now are all coming together when a person is properly or supposed to start with this kind of variables all considered into a program. And a good trainer should be able to provide, if you never done anything like this in your life, that it is strongly recommended to work with a trainer in a gym who is certified, who knows what he's doing or she's doing, and can come up with a program that should take all these factors and variables that I just listed into consideration. So first off, what is the first thing? If you go to a gym, a fully equipped, a serious gym, and there are, let's say, trainers and you check their qualifications. You can check their qualifications. I'd certainly recommend that. The gym's, the club's name, the trainer's name, and ask him or her what kind of qualifications that do you have. I mean, that person, the trainer, should be qualified by national fitness. There are various different national fitness associations and organizations that are approving those certifications. So ask what kind of certification this trainer has. So you can in fact check the validity of that certification by the trainer's name and probably even certification number, something like almost diploma, like a diploma number. And you can check that. So it's important to understand the specific experience level of that trainer. Again, these are important factors, especially if you've never done anything like this in your life and you're advanced age. Let's say you're 65 years old, you never worked out in your life, and you want to start applying the fitness principles to improve your overall health condition. So let's say I'm going to give a few examples. Like I said, this recording is not geared toward only to one certain age group or one certain group of people. Let's say young males trying to improve their muscularity. They're getting ready for bodybuilding competition or powerlifting competition. It's not only that, or in fact, I'm not going to even talk about those. And this is for general public, definitely focusing on advanced age groups and what they can do to improve their health. So when you start devising or coming up with with a program, fitness program focusing on resistance training, there are two things to consider. One is you got to define what is it that you're trying to accomplish. So first, there are two things actually you're trying to accomplish. One is, and that is the initial factor, definitely, and it stays with it, but starts with that definitely, is a strength gains. The strength gains, I repeat. The secondary factor, and a longer term factor, is muscular hypertrophy, meaning the expansion or increase of the overall muscle mass in one's body, again for both men and women. It is typically when a person, especially a person never worked out in his or her life, the fastest gains are noticed in that initial phase, and that is seen in strength side, not the muscular development side. Muscular development and size development, size improvements come a lot later. It is a lot longer process and it comes a lot later. But the strength gains are noticed initially, and it is essential to improve the strength first. So let's kind of a little bit briefly talk about what is hypertrophy training versus strength training. Training for hypertrophy means you're looking to increase the physical size of your muscles. It can take several months for you to notice even slightest amount of results. And again, let's say especially if it's a younger person, let's say about 15 to not 15, let's say 20, 25 years old male, and start this muscle hypertrophy training, start noticing results, give and take, depend on that person's genetics and nutrition and workout style and all that. At the least, kind of like a 4 to 6 months, this person, this young guy, might start noticing tiny little differences. And actually, the change in the first 2 years of training regimen, first 3 years, is the fastest, and it starts slowing down, and it usually reaches a plateau. That's a different thing, so we're not going to be getting there now. Bodybuilders, for instance, focus on resistance training for hypertrophy, but you may be interested in this form of training to change the appearance of your own muscles. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to consider yourself bodybuilder. Strength training. Training for strength involves training your actually nervous system to use as many muscle fibers as needed to overcome an external force. It is it's called a neuromuscular adaptation, meaning your nervous system learns to communicate better with your muscles to produce movement and create force. Strength training plays a vital role in most sports training as well, and as well as a daily life. It also plays an important role in keeping you healthy. I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, this recording is for everybody, men and women, all ages, and especially I want to emphasize one factor: gaining strength, improving overall strength. That doesn't mean that you're again going to the Olympics and to lift, to do clean and jerks and snatches, or going to powerlifting competitions or as such. But it's basically improving your overall life quality, meaning you have a lot more freedom to do a lot of things that you were maybe having problems before. You're gonna be carrying when you go to, especially let's say a lady who is doing grocery shopping is gonna notice that she can handle a lot more grocery sacks in a single hand from her car, taking them out of the trunk and carrying them to the kitchen. Or a man who is doing some work around the house, maybe he can be he's gonna find himself more capable of, like, lifting heavier items, maybe wooden planks, or some kind of a garden yard work. I don't know, grabbing a shovel, digging a hole, cutting a tree, things like that. Or in general, overall, maybe inside the house, he's trying to move furniture to help his wife because his wife is telling him, I want you to, I don't want to see this furniture here, but I want to see this furniture to be taken upstairs. He can find himself doing those things and having a lot easier time. So that's an overall quality of life. It doesn't mean you got to be in kind of sports competition environment, right? So this is my goal to describe, to kind of to be able to share what I know, what I experienced, what I did, what I thought with people of all these ages. Especially, like I said, I'm 60 years old. I'm going to be 61 years old end of this year, December 2023. I'll be 61, and I started working out with weights at the age 14, or in general resistance training at the age 14. Now it has been 46 years. I made it basically a part of my life. This is an essential part of my life. No matter what, I never stopped doing this, and I will, as long as I can, I will continue doing this. Obviously, as the aging factor, as age becoming a factor in more advanced years, obviously you have to adjust the amount of weights you're using, the amount of intensity I'm using, and all those factors. But the one common denominator of all ages, of all those decades I lived, and hopefully maybe a few more I'll be living, it is important to incorporate this mindset into my life. And that's exactly what I'm trying to share with folks of my age and older ages. So, like I said, strength training is certainly aspect of a quality life. So the next item that I want to talk about, you remember I mentioned those components, those variables. That what are the factors in a workout regimen: reps and sets, and training intensity, volume, rest intervals between sets, exercise selection, all those. And now the next item is how to choose. I mean, how to come up with what kind of a combination of those things. What are the set, weight, rep combination? How do you select exercises? Exercise selection. How often you should do this? How often you should go to gym, or if you're working out at home, how often you should do this? How long each time you have to do this? The frequency of exercises, and at what intensity that you should apply those principles. So all those things are extremely important variables that need to be considered and taken into account, and basically not a smart, logical, comprehensive strategy that one should come up with to be able to incorporate all those things into a meaningful and efficient and productive workout regimen. Again, those are intensity, reps, repetitions. Reps is standing for repetitions. Rest period between each set and each exercise routine or exercise a day, number of sets, and exercise selection. So let's talk about those things. What are those things? First off, let's define all those words. Intensity. Muscle adaptations require muscles to become damaged, stressed, and fatigued. Intensity affects how quickly your muscles reach fatigue. I want to pause here real carefully. I want to mention, because I just mentioned the word become damaged. And for those who are not familiar with what I'm talking about, it might be misunderstood. It might be misrepresented. So the word damage here is used in absolutely very positive context. The muscle fibers, tiny little microfibers in a muscle tissue, must be shocked, must be stimulated for growth. That is happening. This process is taking place through actually applying micro tears on the muscle tissue. That's called muscular. That's the damage that it's talking about. So there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, this is what they're trying to achieve with the workout. So muscle adaptations again require muscles to become damaged, stressed, and fatigued. Intensity affects how quickly your muscles reach fatigue. In other words, higher the intensity, the faster your muscles are gonna go into fatigue phase. How fatigue is happening is the lactic acid is accumulating inside that muscle group, and then the higher amount of weights you're using, well, as you guess, the faster the lactic acid accumulation is taking place. Therefore, you're feeling tired, you're getting fatigued, your muscle is getting fatigued at a faster rate. To be effective, the intensity you select needs to be enough to generate stress while allowing you to do enough reps to reach fatigue. So, next item on the list is reps or repetitions. Reps refer to the number of times you perform the action of a particular exercise. For example, you may do 10 reps of squats while at the gym as part of your routine. This is the reps I'm talking about. 10 reps of doing squats. So that means 10 repetitions. Reps and intensity have an inverse relationship. As your intensity increases, you need to decrease the number of reps you do. In other words, when you hear the term intensity, understand that I'm referring to amount of weight. Like on the barbell, on the bar, you have more plates. That's the heavier bar. That means intensity is increased, right? So as you increase your intensity, meaning the weight, you need to decrease the number of reps, because you cannot do as higher reps with the heavier weights. So there's absolutely an inverse relationship, and there is absolutely optimization in the relationship of the weight, set, and rep combinations. Strength often improves at higher levels of intensity, meaning that you will typically gain the most strength when performing about 1 to 5 reps at 85 to 100% of your single rep weight capacity. It's also known as 1 RM, or actually RPM, rep for one time. That's one time rep. That means, in a little more plain English, 1 rep maximum. 1 rep maximum is, let's say it's bench press. What is the weight you can push on bench press? One time only. That's your maximum 1 rep bench press. Let's say it is 200 pounds. Okay, it is 200 pounds. That's your one rep maximum. So high intensity workout, you gotta find your maximum weight for 1 rep to be able to identify your intensity range, which is measured in percentages. Meaning, let's say it's 200 pounds, right? So in this example, the strength training gains are taking place between 1 to 5 sets at 85 to 100%. That means 85% of 200 pounds, doing it for 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, however many, but in that range, reps for each set constitute strength training. it is more practically, it is never reaching the workout should never reach 100% of one rep. That means your one rep maximum, and you should not even get that close to it. That's usually more realistically, those percentages are given around 85% range. They should not, I mean, it rarely hits 90%. Rarely. It remains about 85 at most, and then they kind of play around with that. Again, the rep range is 1 to 5. If you're doing this, 1 is absolute lowest end, and that's weightlifters actually use that. And what we're talking about is not Olympic style weightlifting. That is Olympic style weightlifting. 1 rep each time they lift. But if you're doing powerlifting, or if you're doing strength training, let's call it, then usually 4 to 6 reps for each set is the right range for strength gains. Again, with 85% of your maximum amount of weight you push, let's say in a bench press 200 pounds. That's an example. You can apply this to any other exercise, such as squats, such as barbell curls, whatever the exercise you're doing. You kind of have that kind of you kind of estimate your 1 rep, and then for strength gains, you apply this principle. You should perform each rep as fast as and as safely possible. Safety with lifting involves using proper form for the exercise you're performing. Again, for the form, the right and proper form, which there is a lot to talk about, including myself. A lot of people after so many years are still tending to do some kind of not as proper forms in certain exercises. Some of them are habits, bad habits, and so it's very important. So basically, it's important, especially if you're a new beginner, you never did this before in your life, and you want to start. Please seek professional help, meaning work with a trainer to make sure that you're doing it in the right form, in order to kind of avoid, especially advanced age, in order to avoid unnecessary amount of injuries. Because especially the older the person, and I experienced that myself firsthand. I had in my youth years, I worked out a lot, and I had a lot of injuries, and I was able to recover them in a relatively short amount of time. And now I'm being very careful. I'm not being as crazy. Let me put it that way, because I know that if I have a serious injury, it's going to take me months, not weeks, probably to recover, fully recover. I had those on my elbows, on my shoulder, knees, wrists, all those things, and I had countless amounts of those injuries throughout my life. But again, right now I'm 60 years old. I'm being more careful to avoid injuries. Hypertrophy training often involves more reps with a lower level of intensity. You should aim to complete between 6 to 12 reps for muscular growth at 75 to 85% of your 1 rep maximum. So let me explain this sentence, okay? The first one I mentioned was strength training, and I gave you rep range, repetition range 1 to 5. If you're working out for muscular hypertrophy, meaning you're trying to increase your muscle size, which in turn means bodybuilding, then you have to reduce a little bit down to a 75% range, and you have to increase the number of reps. Minimum 6, it could be up to 12, depend on the person. That range, anywhere in this range is okay. Everybody can eventually stabilize at certain rep levels, because everybody has a little bit, everybody's kind of different, right? So that's why they give ranges, because there is no such thing as one exact number is good for everybody. So everybody's different. You got to find your own most comfortable number of reps and sets. So the next item on the list is rest period. Rest periods vary between strength and hypertrophy training. For instance, if you're doing hypertrophy training, meaning bodybuilding, meaning you're trying to increase the muscle size, it is recommended to rest between 60 to 90 seconds. So a minute and a minute and a half between each set when you're using 75 to 85% of your 1 rep maximum, which again, more realistically, I would say I would certainly recommend to remain within 75% with the 75% 1 rep maximum. And if you're doing strength training, obviously your weights, the weights you handle are going to be heavier, which is going to be exceeding 85% or about 85%. In this case, between each set, you got to wait, you got to rest 3 to 5 minutes. Look at the difference. One is 60 minutes, a minute to a minute and a half, if you're, that's for bodybuilding or hypertrophy training. The other one is a strength training, and you got to wait about 3 to 5 minutes because you're handling heavier weights. So it takes longer for muscle to recover to the level that you can again apply force. So the next item is sets. Sets are the number of times that you perform the same exercise. Using the above example, you may do 3 sets of 10 reps of squats as your full routine with rest periods in between each set. Again, you decide whether if you're doing the strength versus hypertrophy. To train for hypertrophy, you will want to focus on doing between 3 and 5 sets of each exercise. Each exercise, 3 to 5 sets. To train for strength, you will want to focus on about 4 to 6 sets per exercise. To train for either, you will need to vary your intensity and reps so that you can reach the ideal number of sets. Just one thing that I want to mention here, as you notice, as I'm trying to explain these things, I'm basically differentiating between the strength training and hypertrophy training. These things, yes, they can be handled, they should be explained in their own way, separately, they should be analyzed, they should be scrutinized separately, but you should also understand that those two things are very strongly interrelated as well. One example is, as you work out, your strength increases. When you do just muscular trophy as well, it still increases. As you increase your strength, you handle heavier weights, and doing this, meaning you're applying heavier weights for those sets and reps, in turn, it gives you more hypertrophy. That means it improves muscles even better. So a lot of bodybuilders or folks doing strength sports or bodybuilding, they kind of get away, they kind of combine both. They do strength training to improve their strength, and then they switch to muscular hypertrophy training, or sometimes in the same session, same workout session, they try to combine both. Now, just keep that in mind, but at this level, let's not confuse ourselves with those idiosyncrasies or with those details. And maybe we can discuss that another time because it's a little bit of a more advanced topic. So let's stop here. I just want to mention that they are two different things, but they're extremely interrelated. So let's just keep that in mind and go from here. So now the next phase of our conversation of our recording is exercise selection. So exercise selection can make a difference in your overall resistance training program. Training for hypertrophy or strength benefits from a multiple joint approach. In other words, your routines should include exercises that involve several muscle groups and joints in one action. These are often called compound exercises. What are those? Those are such as bench press, squats, deadlifts, barbell rows, barbell military presses. Those are all compound exercises. Those are the few examples. There are more. The reason why they use the term compound is because they involve several muscle groups in action. For hypertrophy, working several groups at once may promote uniform growth. For strength, working multiple groups at once can improve overall strength. So actually, compound exercises are serving both hypertrophy and strength gains. Again, different set and weight and rep combinations need to be applied. So there is a I want to kind of mention here a sample combination, trying to bring all together. Now we mentioned a lot of things. We mentioned hypertrophy. We mentioned strength gains. We mentioned a lot of factors such as sets, reps, exercise selections, and durations in between, the rest periods in between, the frequency, and all those. So let's try to come up with, as an example, put them all together. Let's say the training type is hypertrophy. So I'm going to again divide into two: hypertrophy and strength. Let's start with hypertrophy. The exercise, I'm going to take an exercise, in this case rows. That is barbell rows. That could be barbell rows. You bent over, it's called bent over barbell rows. You kind of bent over, you grab a barbell and pull towards your chest, or you can sit on a cable stack machine. You can basically pull it down, or you can sit and pull it vertically. So those are all rows. It could be T-bar rows. There are many different kinds of rows, but rows are done for back muscles to improve the strength and size of the back muscles. The rows exercise are done. In this example, I'm going to use that. So example, maximum intensity. In 1 rep maximum, let's say, is 20 pounds. I'm being, very, very kind of lightweight, so that can be applicable to anybody, anyone in the population, age, gender, anyone. So intensity is 80%. Again, keep in mind that this is hypertrophy. So 80% of 20 pounds is what? 16 pounds. 16 pounds doing 10 reps, and rest period between each set is 60 seconds, and doing that for 4 sets. So what you just did here is hypertrophy workout. Let's say it's a strength exercise. Same exercise, rows, and again, the 1 rep maximum is 20. It doesn't change. And in this case, 90%. We're applying 90% of our 1 rep maximum. Therefore, 18 pounds. It's a little heavier, right? And our number of reps, since we're doing strength training, is less now. Instead of 10, we're down to 5. But our rest period is now longer. Not 60 seconds, but 3 minutes. And we do 5 sets. So your workout will also look different depending on if you're a beginner to weightlifting, if you've been exercising for at least a few months, or if you're an experienced athlete or bodybuilder. All these different levels obviously are going to be a serious factors that impact what kind of a training regimen, what kind of a weight, set, frequency, intensity, rest combinations that you're going to come up with. So those are basically so far that we try to cover. Those were the initial basics. I mean, what we just discussed is I'm sorry, excuse me, just a second, please. Yep, I'm sorry, I had to take a quick, short break. So, yeah, I was saying we just covered what I was going to call it 101 of resistance training. So we covered the most basic components of the resistance training, such as set, weight, frequency, intensity, all those things. Now let's talk about a little bit of benefits of resistance training. Resistance training can offer several potential health benefits. The American Heart Association (AHA) recommends you perform strength training at least 2 days per week to help keep you healthy. Some benefits of resistance training include replace body fat with lean muscle mass, manage your weight, increase your metabolism, increase bone density, reduce osteoporosis risk, reduce the symptoms of chronic conditions such as back pain, obesity, arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, depression. So there are a lot of benefits, as you can see. That's why I was using the term improvements on the life quality in general, because a healthy person versus somebody with all these problems such as back pain and obesity, arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, depression, obviously there is a huge difference between two individuals' life quality. And benefits of the resistance training is really helping with all these things. What are the risks associated with resistance training? And again, this is particularly a concern. This would be a concern. In fact, I tried to cover that earlier when I started this recording. That you gotta look for somebody who is specialized as a trainer in a gym, certified, specialized for helping with those with maybe older population who never had much experience in their life, or especially the ones coming with some after some surgery, kind of like as part of the continuation of their physical therapy sessions. So when done properly, resistance training is generally safe and effective in building size and strength. When performing an exercise, you need to make sure that you use a proper form. You remember we talked about the proper form. If you're not sure how to perform an exercise, well, you can often find videos and images or instructions online, or you can also work with a personal trainer to learn proper form and performing various strength exercises. You should also avoid lifting more heavy weight than you can handle. So basically, for example, if you're struggling to complete 10 reps of squats with your body weight, you should not add additional weight right away. You stick with your body weight, you keep exercising, and by the time you reach to the point that you're not having any difficulty after doing the 10th rep, that means you increase your muscular strength in your legs. Then you can start considering putting some little bit weights on your back to improve that exercise, to improve your muscular or strength of your legs. To help decrease risk, you should focus on building a strong base first. So building muscle size and maximum strength requires a solid foundation to build from. Through that you will build strength naturally first as you build up your base. So, like I said, strength happens to be coming earlier. That's like you gotta build that base. That's what I'm referring to. The base is for strength. Once you have a solid base, then hypertrophy exercises can be applied more effectively. So, what are the takeaways? Training for strength and hypertrophy means you'll need to participate in resistance training. Resistance training, for one, will naturally increase the other, but there are steps you can take to focus on one over the other. To do this, you need to modify the fundamental aspects of your workout, including the intensity reps, rest period, sets, and type of exercises. As a general rule, you'll gain more strength by focusing on lifting heavier weight, lowering reps, and executing fewer sets with full rest in between. By contrast, training for hypertrophy involves moderate weight, not very light but moderate, higher reps, and more sets with limited rests in between. So that's basically, so far, I've covered what I intended to cover. And again, my plan was to be able to share the basics. These are the bare bone basics of resistance training. And the word resistance training is in encompassing a lot of training modules, such as using free weights, meaning dumbbells or barbells, using cable stack. What they call this cable stack is those machines you see in those fancy gyms. You know, all these weights stacked up on each other, and there's a cable, and then there's a selector that one can choose. That's called cable stack. Or machines that are plate loader. They're still machines. They're not free weights, but they're using, just like regular barbells, you can put weights on them, weight plates on them. Those are called weight loader machines. And also band training, like resistance bands. They can also apply resistance for your muscles to be worked out, or calisthenics. That means using your own body weight. So all these things, all these different modules or modes of workouts can be used for resistance training in general. And again, I'm just kind of trying to wrap up right now You can do it for both, either strength training and muscular training. But again, first you gotta build your base. Build your base from the ground up. What is that? The base is strength. You gotta have sufficient amount of strength first off, that you can eventually get your muscles to the level that you can apply more comprehensive workouts if you want to also increase your muscular size, which is hypertrophy training. So yes, this is what I just wanted to cover again. These factors are valid for all age groups, advanced age groups, regardless of the gender, and including those people who are coming out of surgeries and completed their physical therapy sessions and extending their kind of therapy sessions to improve the losses they had to endure during the surgery and after recovery. Maybe they had a traffic accident and they lost muscular size and strength in their leg. They can use this. Or maybe somebody had a broken arm and the arm was in the cast for months. Now it's out of cast. Now you recovered, but you lost a lot of size and strength in your arm muscles. You can use these techniques to improve yourself. Or you had a serious surgery, very invasive surgery. Could be hip replacement, knee replacement. I myself, 7 years ago, I had a very serious and invasive knee surgery. Both tendons at the same time were ruptured. Both tendons. Same day I was taken to the hospital and I had an operation. I had a surgery. Next day I had a surgery, and then I stayed in hospital 10 days. I went through 3 hours a day, very aggressive physical therapy sessions. After that, outpatient physical therapy sessions I had for 6 months, and after that, with my doctor's monitoring, obviously, he told me you can start going to the gym and you can start working out your legs, and I did, and gradually I was able to improve my condition. Again, keep in mind that I started working out, and all my lifetime I've been working out. If you never did this, and it's the first time you want to do this, maybe you had some kind of a hip replacement and you're maybe 70 years old, you can still benefit from what I did. And just because you haven't done it before, you gotta have extra care, and you have to have your doctor's approval first, and after your doctor's monitoring and approval, you gotta work with, I would strongly recommend, with a trainer who is certified in that particular area, helping patients recovering from some surgery. There are trainers specialized in those areas. In those commercial gyms, you can definitely look out for them on the internet. You can find them. It is definitely worthwhile, I think, to pay some extra to be able to gain their use their expertise, and then apply and stick to their routines for, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then after that you're going to realize that you actually gain a lot. You gain a lot of freedom. You gain a lot of mobility. You are a lot stronger. You feel a lot better. Overall, a lot better. And those are, I think, super important things to call your life. You have quality of life, I think. So, yeah, thank you very much. I will probably come up with some other types of exercise routines and resistance exercises, muscular development, strength training. There are a lot of, obviously, details. And I hope, until next time, you stay safe, healthy, and strong. Bye-bye.